Are you tired of robot vacuum cleaners? When they clean up hair, they wrap it around a brush roller? Hello everyone, I'm Just a Dad, and in today's video, I'm going to show you what is the best robot vacuum cleaner for pets with long hair, or if somebody in your home has long hair. We want to go from this to actually putting the hair into the dust bag. I've got 5 key features that a robot vacuum cleaner has to have in order for this to be performed successfully. I'm going to show you those in order. I'm going to give you my top recommended robot also. And if you stick around to the end, I've got a really cool setting that MOVA just released on the MOVA V50. So I'm Just a Dad. I have purchased and tested over 200 robot vacuum cleaners. I purchased them with my own money, and I give you my honest opinion on them. I am not sponsored by anybody. I want to get you the best robot for the best price. Now, I do have a website. If you want to find out what the best robots are that I approve of, go to my website, justadadapproved.com. If you purchase a robot off of my website or in this video description, I am an Amazon affiliate. I do earn a small commission from that click. The product doesn't cost you anymore, but I do get a small commission. So it's a way of helping support my channel. So let's get started. I want to get you the best robot for pets, and there's not a lot of robots out there that can do this. This is one of the toughest tasks for a robot vacuum cleaner, but we've got some that actually perform it very well. Now, full disclosure here. If you have 3 huskies that are shedding a lot all the time, there's probably not a robot that will be able to keep up with that. So I'll cut right to the chase. I'm going to recommend the MOVA V50. And the rest of this video is going to show you the test results of this robot. This is my #1 pick, 2026 pick of the year. This is the best robot if you have pets with long hair or just pets. And it actually won in my other video, which is the best obstacle avoidance. But the main reason is this dual brush roller. It's got a really strong auto empty, and it's got a slider scale in the app that you can set how often it auto empties the dustbin. Here's the results of the dog hair test. The MOVA V50 passes. It's got the best settings. This is the best overall. It also did the best with the obstacle avoidance for dog waste. And it all comes down to this price point. Sometimes when it's on sale under $700, that's just an amazing price. 405 failed. The Saros 10 and 20 are excellent also. And if you want a robot that's thinner to go under more stuff, I would recommend the 10R or the 20. P10 Pro if you're on a budget with the tri-cut brush. Again, you can find all of this on my website, justadadapproved.com. So the #1 thing that a robot vacuum cleaner has to have, it has to have a strong auto empty system. So these robots go around, they vacuum your home, everything goes into this smaller dustbin, and then when they come back to the base station, there's another vacuum that kicks on inside of here, and it sucks everything out of the dustbin. That is the #1 thing a robot has to have. We want to get everything out of the dustbin into the dust bag. You'd be surprised, some robots don't have very good vacuums built into the base station to accomplish this. Now, the #2 thing a robot vacuum cleaner needs for long hair management also has to do with the base station. It's called smooth pathway. So we want to you can have the strongest vacuum cleaner inside the base station sucking everything out, but if the pathway, I didn't think this was a big deal until I found some that failed miserably. If the pathway that the robot has to remove, like right here on the MOVA P10 Pro, this is pretty typical of some robots, it comes out the back. So everything goes in here. There's a little trap door here. When the vacuum kicks on right here, the pathway for that stuff to get to the dust bag. Sometimes it has really hard angles. Sometimes the path is small. Sometimes it just has, like the brand new Bissell goes from a square to a rectangle, and stuff just gets caught. The hair getting sucked up into the dust bag just gets caught. So again, the strongest suction power in the world is not going to solve the pathway. Has to be very smooth. Okay, so the third most important thing that a robot vacuum cleaner has to have to help with dog hair, that's going to be the brush roller. Okay, now manufacturers have realized that the brush roller, like the design we see here on the Roomba 405, that's an old design that historically gets a lot of hair wrap on it. So Manufacturers have thought they got to do something about it. I'm glad they did. And we've got two distinctive designs and an upgrade for an older robot. First, let's start off with the upgrade for the older robot. This is the MOVA P10 Pro. I absolutely love this robot vacuum cleaner. It's a great budget robot vacuum cleaner. But the brush roller that it comes with, this is the upgraded tri-cut brush. The brush roller that it comes with, it sort of looks kind of like the 405. It's got a pivot point on each end. You do get some hair wrap with it, but you can upgrade to this tri-cut brush. You can find this link on my website, justadadapproved.com. I have a link to a generic one that is just as good as the OEM one, typically around 20 bucks. And I have a video, if you want to see me break this down. This thing is very intricate and it works extremely well. It's got a little knife in there that goes back and forth. So as the hairs wrap around it, there's a little knife, you can't touch it or anything, but it's down in these little grooves. It'll cut the hairs. It works really good. And it's a great way to upgrade an older robot that is still really good. And it's not very expensive to upgrade it, but it's great for pet hair management. Now here we have the MOVA V50. Dreamy also does this type of, it's called the dual brush roller design. And it's floating. So this floating technology has been extremely good at long hair. And what I mean by floating is there's only one pivot point or one rotation point on this brush roller. The other side, it doesn't connect to the other side of the robot. It's floating. And these are fluted. There's a ever so slightly taper flute, so as the long hairs wrap around this, they're going to be directed to the end. They don't have a place to get wrapped around, and that's where the suction point is for the dust bag. Now, again, Dreamy and MOVA came up with this design. This works very well. Sometimes you do get some clumping I've seen with the MOVA V50 and the Dream X50. If a bunch of long hair goes to the end, sometimes you'll get a clump left on the ground. I haven't noticed that to be that big of a problem, but this is excellent long hair management. This is the way MOVA and Dream have done it. Now, Roborock has come out with a different way. They call it the split brush dual roller design. It's only found on kind of like their mid-range to their more expensive robot vacuum cleaners. Their cheaper ones still have the single brush roller. This dual split brush roller design, each brush roller is floating. And in the middle, it's split. So the long hairs are directed to the middle. That's where the suction is, and they get sucked up. Okay, so here we have the Eufy E25. They do things kind of like Roborock. They've got a split brush dual roller design. It's split in the middle. The long hairs, it's tapered. They're gonna be tapered and directed to the middle. That's where the suction point is. And then they get sucked into the dustbin. The Eufy E25 also does something else. It spins the brushes backwards whenever it's on the base station, whenever it's auto emptying. I do think that helps quite a bit too. Now, something else that I factor in is the side brush. They've come out with these. Here's the Roborock Saros 20. It has an anti-tangle side brush. This little, how it's kind of fluted like that, does a really good job. This is the E25. That's kind of a standard design where hairs will get wrapped around it. Same with the Roomba 405. The MOVA V50 also has a type of pattern that will help with long hair. MOVA P10 Pro, it's a little bit older design. It will get some hair wrap sometimes around the side brush, but the main thing that prevents these robots from cleaning is the brush roller getting hair wrap. Now, the fourth thing that I consider super important if you want a robot for a home with pets, that's going to be the actual suction power. Now, a lot of these robots, their suction power ranges from about 20,000 pascals of suction. Sometimes we're getting up over 30 now. I think somewhere in that range, they do a good job, but you can have the highest suction power on a robot. And if you don't have those top three things, it does not matter how good a suction power you have for a robot. So I do think the 1, 2, and 3 items that are before suction power on a robot are much more important. So, but we do want a robot that actually does clean. If it has a little bit lower suction power, I typically put it clean in a room that maybe the dog bed is in or something. I'll have it do 2 passes in that room if the suction power is a little bit lower. So the 5th key thing that a robot vacuum cleaner needs for a home with pets, that's going to be the application. So all these robots have different apps. That's how you interface with them, but it's in the settings of the app. There's one setting that I find to be the most valuable, and that's going to be the auto empty setting. You're going to find that in the dock under you can change different settings. Now, that's not the case with every robot that I test. Some robots, you don't have any settings you can adjust with the dock. But the ones that I'm going to show you and recommend, here we've got the MOVA V50. I told you to wait till the end. This is the secret thing that they just came out with. They didn't even tell anybody. I accidentally found it. So the MOVA V50 has a special setting now that you can tell it exactly how often you want that robot to go back and auto empty. So this is a really important feature. If a robot has great suction, it has a great brush roller, all of this, but the dustbins on all of these robots are small. So if you have a home with pets or long hair, that dustbin is going to fill up quicker. And we want that dustbin to be auto emptied as much and as often as possible. All it just has to travel back. These robots know exactly where they're at. They'll travel back to the base station, auto empty everything, and then they pick up right where they left off. So you don't even notice it. It may use a little bit more battery, and the docking stations that I'm recommending are not super loud. So even though it's auto emptying, if you could still be working in the room, it's going to do a good job. But this probably could have been the #1 setting, but it is an extremely important setting, is auto empty frequency. So again, MOVA just released an update to their app. It's got a little slider scale. I love it. Now we can slide how often does it go back and auto empty the dock. Roborock has kind of the standard we've seen for a while of strong suction power, and then frequency is high. Well, they don't really tell us how much high is. How often does it go back? And that's where, if you check out my other video, even if the robots that I recommend here struggle at a home with pets, check out my other video where I go through the settings, because you can fine tune the settings even more. And the article is on my website, justadadapproved.com. It's not complicated. It's got quite a few steps to it of dividing up the home into smaller rooms, increasing the auto frequency of when it docks and cleans everything out. So check out that video. But I think with these robot recommendations I give you for the best one to buy, that these are going to do really good for homes with people with long hair, or pets mainly with long hair. So I'm going to show you the test results that I did over here in my studio. These are the exact same results that I had when I'd had the robots. I've had all these robots at my home for over 3 months. Now, the MOVA V50 I've got here, the Roomba 405, the Roborock Saros 20. I also am including the Saros 10R. The Roborock Saros 20 and the 10R have such similar features when it comes to pet hair. I'm considering those pretty much the same robot. They got some differences when it comes to other stuff, but they're pretty much the same. Eufy E25. And we got the traditional MOVA P10 Pro. This has been my robot vacuum cleaner of the year for 2025. My robot vacuum cleaner of the year 2026 is the MOVA V50. Check out that video where I tell you why it's the best robot of the year, but pretty much comes down to it's a flagship at an incredible price right now. So if you want to find the latest price again, check out my website, justadadapproved.com. So this is the Roomba 405. As you can see, it actually does a really good job of picking up the hair. What we're going to see here is it's going to definitely have a lot of hair wrap on its roller, and its auto empty system kind of lacks, but it actually does a very good job of vacuuming up hair. You will see some hair wrap on the side brush, but when we see the main brush roller, that's where its real downfall is. The Roomba 405 even struggles with auto emptying the dustbin, especially when there's hair in it. It does a pretty good job with normal dust, but now as I flip it over, you're going to see there's lots of hair wrap on the brush roller. That's because there's a pivot point on each side, so the hair is going to wrap around, and you typically have to cut it off, and it can even start damaging the robot, and it really prevents it vacuuming up your house. And if you look close, even on the ends, there's hair wrap. Now here we have the Roborock Saros 20. It's going to vacuum up hair very well. It's got a side brush that extends into the corner. I did have to kind of put some of the hair in front of it because it has such good obstacle avoidance. Sometimes it would sense that hair as a cable. So you may see its cleaning pattern is a little off because sometimes it wants to go around the hair. So if you've got a lot of hair, it's definitely going to vacuum it all up. And then we're going to check its auto empty system. And that's where we're going to see this thing really shines.
Dustbin.
Okay, so let's first check the dust bin. Did it auto empty everything? And it did. That was a lot of hair, and it definitely auto emptied everything. Now let's flip it over and check the dual brush roller. The dual divide, I'm sorry. There's a divide in the middle. It didn't have any on the side brush either. As we can see, it did a good job. Now it's on to the MOVA P10 Pro, my 2025 pick of the year. Now the cleaning pattern you're seeing, it's thinking that hair is a cable, so it's trying to avoid it. I had to kind of force feed the hair into it. Now, if there's just hair on the carpet or something, it's going to pick it up fine. But it actually does a very good job of cleaning up hair. It's just, it's really trying to avoid it, which is actually a good thing. But once it does eventually pick up all the hair, we're going to check it. It did a really good job. But as you can see, it's just kind of going all over the place trying to avoid it because it's black hair on a white floor, which looks like a cable.
Start auto empty.
Okay, let's take a look at the MOVA P10 Pro. Let's check its dust bin. It did a really good job of auto emptying all the hair. Again, that can be a really hard thing for a robot to do. Let's flip it over, check its brush roller. This is the tri-cut brush. Now you do get some hair wrap on the corners sometimes, not too bad, but those little knives in there are actually going to cut the hair as they wrap around it. Next up is my 2026 pick of the year, the MOVA V50. Now what you're seeing, the cleaning pattern's a little off because it can sense that hair as a cable. And I did have to kind of change up the color of the hair. I put some kind of white and blonde hair down, but it still has really good obstacle avoidance where it wants to go around it thinking it's an actual cable. So I did have to kind of force feed it into the robot a little bit, but it did pick up the same amount of hair as the other robots. That's what you're seeing here. I'm trying to get the robot to actually vacuum up the hair, which can be a little tricky.
Start charging. Start auto empty.
Okay, let's take a look at the MOVA V50. Let's take a look at its dust bin. Did everything auto empty? It did. Does a great job of auto emptying all of the hair. That's a really important thing that it has to do. Let's just open it up, make sure, yep, looks clean. Let's flip it over, check the dual brush roller. Again, one side is floating, the other side is hinged. That's why it does a good job. Now, sometimes you do get some clumping. There's a few hairs in there, nothing that's going to wrap around and cause a lot of problems. Eventually, I think it would come off. Very, very easy to work on. So here is the Eufy E25. Now, don't look at its cleaning pattern. It's trying to avoid that hair. That's black hair on top of a white floor. So it thinks it's a cable. It's going to go around it. So I may have to kind of force feed it into the robot. The cleaning pattern just got all wacky here, as you can see. But I do want it to pick up the same amount of hair as all the rest of the robots. So I kind of have to force feed it a little bit. It actually does a very good job of picking up the hair. It's got corner reach. It's going to go in nice straight lines. Again, it tries to avoid it, and I got to tell it to, actually, I need you to vacuum that hair up.
Charging. Start collecting dust.
Okay, let's see how the Eufy E25 did after auto-emptying its dustbin. Let's take a look at the dustbin. Now we can see the dustbin does look clean. Now let's flip it over, take a look at the side brush. The side brush does get some hair wrap on it. It's got kind of an older standard feature. It's not anti-tangle, even though it does go into the corner. Now let's take a look at the brush roller. It actually did a pretty good job. It's got a comb in there. Sometimes I do find hair stuck between those two brush, the dual divide there in the middle, but this actually did good. So here's a recap of the 5 keys to a good robot. Number 1, strong auto empty suction in the dock. Number 2, auto empty path has to be smooth. Number 3, brush roller long hair management. We've got several ways of doing it. They all work according to their way and they do a good job. Number 4, good suction power in the robot. And number 5, auto empty settings. How often the robot comes back to the dock and auto empties. Okay, here are the results, and the Roomba 405 did come in last. Bad hair wrap, its auto empty settings are very limited, and it just doesn't do a good job of emptying the dustbin sometimes also. The clear winner in my testing is the MOVA V50 because of that slider for the auto empty settings, the dual brush roller design. Also, in my dog waste test results, it did amazing. The MOVA V50 was an excellent job, but it comes down to this best under $700. Roborock Saros 10R and 20R is a pass. Did an excellent job because of its split brush. Its auto empties really good. Although we don't have a lot of settings we can choose. We do have more than these, but the MOVA V50 wins on best settings. But I think the Roborock Saros, that split brush dual roller, is a better design. MOVA P10 Pro, well, this is just going to come down to the best budget. These are flagship robots, but if you want to save a little bit of money and get the tri-cut brush, this is a great robot to have that can actually do a good job with pets. Now, the Eufy E25, it did a good job with the pet hair. It's a little loud when it's auto emptying, and its settings are just extremely limited. While it does a good job, it's kind of meant for a smaller home with pets. With a bigger home, I think this is going to struggle a little bit. And this kind of coincides with the obstacle avoidance sensor. The 405 has a really bad one. It failed. E25 did a good job with avoiding the pet waste. P10 Pro did an excellent job. The Dyson V50, Flow 2, Dreamy X60 actually had a fail. That was a flagship fail. And the Saros 20 actually did a good job. So I have bought and purchased over 200 robot vacuum cleaners with my own money, and I am not sponsored. I can say whatever I want about these robot vacuum cleaners. I do want to get you the best robot for the best price. Now, in my testing of these robots, I do carpet testing. I do testing on hardwood floor with hair. In this video, I showed you just an example of some of that, but I also take them to my home and live with them for 3 months. So in order for a robot to get my Just a Dad sticker seal of approval, it has to go through that. Common sense testing. You got to be able to interface with it. It's got to do a good job of cleaning. There's not a hassle factor. I'm not constantly having to go pick it up and bring it back to the dock. And then the maintenance has to be easy. But probably the most important is price. And thankfully, price is starting to come down on some really good robots. 2025 was a pivotal year where great robots were released, and now it's 2026. They're still making those older models, and they've lowered the price. So you do not have to get a flagship robot. You do not have to get the most expensive robot vacuum cleaner in order to get it to clean your house the best. And that's why the MOVA V50 is winning in so many different classes. Now, I have seen some clumping with the MOVA V50 in my testing. As you saw there was a couple hairs wrapped on it, but it's going to come down to, again, price. And that slider scale, I do think, makes the bigger difference than a few hairs on that brush roller. And the MOVA V50 is sometimes half the price of the Roborock Saros 20. Now, the 10R is starting to come down in price, thankfully. It's last year's model, great robot, has all the same features that I showed you, but it's still around $1,000. So when we can get a flagship robot for $700 and that comes with $200 worth of accessories, that's just an amazing deal that I absolutely love. And even the MOVA P10 Pro, starting to come down way in price, under $400 right now. Upgrade to the $20 tri-cut brush, you've got a great budget robot vacuum cleaner. So again, I do appreciate everybody's support. Check out my website, justadadapproved.com. It's going to have this review will be turned into an article so you can read it. But if you want to follow the video, let me know what other videos. I've got pet waste. That was a really fun video again. But unfortunately, if the word Roomba is just so associated with robot vacuum cleaners, and right now there is not a iRobot Roomba that I can recommend. I have purchased all of them. I want them to work, but unfortunately we're getting such far superior robots from the likes of Roborock, Eufy, Narwhal. Narwhal's got its own little quirks, MOVA and Dreamy. So again, thanks everybody. Let me know what you think of this video. Leave a comment. If you have a question, go to my website. There is a section there where you can contact me on my website, justadadapproved.com. Thanks everybody for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit the like and subscribe button. Also check out where you can find all my approved products on my website, justadadapproved.com. You'll see a little link to it here at the end of the video. If you click on that, that's going to take you right to my website.